I can answer the question, Judge.
You can't handle the truth!
I ate his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti.
Rubs the lotion on its skin or else it gets the hose again.
Welcome to After Hours AM, The Criminal Code, with your hosts, Joel Sturgis, Eric Olsen, and Dr. Clarissa Cole.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome to this edition of After Hours AM, The Criminal Code. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis, right along with me,
Eric Olsen.
Hey, Eric, man. How you doing, man?
I am doing really pretty well.
Good.
Had a really busy week, and, just we're trying to get in the groove with my mother's new life. Let's face it, she's been married. She was married for 63 years, and now she's on her own. She's a stroke patient. So, it's not easy, but we're working on it, trying to find a groove. I'm working real hard, and we need to make that call tonight. So I'm going to say it on air so I don't forget. We got to call good old John Cushman
We
tonight.
do. We got to get John's status,
we forgot
of course.
John last week.
But we'll do that right after this. We got, lately, I don't know if you've heard this or anyone else has really heard this. I was speaking with some listeners and, of course, AC/DC enthusiasts, and it would seem that, AC/DC now, more than ever, it seems that they have hung it up, and there was a recent interview with, of course, Angus Young, and if anyone didn't catch that, I'll kind of fill you in. The interviewer was talking about the future of the band, and he kind of said, what future? I can't remember the songs. Whether he was being genuine or whether it was a joke, what was going on, I don't know. But that prompted a discussion now that maybe you can put to bed because you, maybe people don't know this, are a musician. So you know what it takes to perform those songs. Now, that being said, the debate was who's better, Bon Scott or Axl Rose. It was amazing how many people believed, in my opinion anyway, that Axl was the more dominant of the vocalists. What do you think, Eric?
Well, first of all, my question would be, were they talking about in general, or were they talking about...
They were talking about performing...
Over an entire career, or were they talking specifically singing for AC/DC?
Yeah, singing for AC/DC, the AC/DC catalog.
Well, that being the case, there's just no way that Axl Rose, who came along 35 years later, right, and is essentially filling in on a tour, there's just no way that he could embody those songs the way the two previous singers did. First, you had Bon Scott, who's one of the great white British blues singers. Yeah. I really do believe that. He wasn't around that long, but he had such a distinctive voice.
And a range.
And he really, really helped kind of just get him off the ground. He had such a verve and vitality. Yeah. It's really too bad he died so young. He was just drank himself to death at a quite young age.
Unfortunate.
But then you had the guy who came along after him, who was there for the next 30 plus years.
That's true. That is true.
And who embodied what is still their absolutely best known material, best known album, Back in Black. Right?
Yeah, that's very true. Brian Johnson, oddly enough, did not come in the discussion. People really want to compare the two. I think because they're very similar in their presence, Axl Rose and Bon Scott. They're kind of that kind of outlaw feeling. And so that might be why they grabbed it. Because Brian Johnson, I always thought was a great vocalist. I mean, gravelly, had a nice gravelly voice and a great blues singer in his own right. So I would probably, I miss him. I liked him. I liked that stuff as much as I ever did the Bon Scott stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little more extreme voice. I mean, it's even more attenuated where he sang really high and really throaty, gravelly.
Yeah.
All the time. You could see how he fried himself out.
Oh, my God, yeah. No kidding.
I mean, how did he last as long as he did?
I have no idea. And again, this you might be tuning in going, wait a minute, did I miss something? Why you guys talk about Bon Scott and Axl Rose? The reason why, again, is there was a recent Rolling Stone interview I happened to catch on, I think it was VH1. and they were talking with him live. It was a VH1 interview, never mind. And he, of course, that would have been Angus Young saying that, the time has kind of come. Between Malcolm gone, his health failing, of course, Bill Rudd, we know what happened to him. And, of course, with Brian Johnson no longer able to perform, that brought up the question now with all the fandom going, who was better? Overall now we're kind of done. We're done. The glory days are over. Who was better? Axl Rose, Bon Scott. Now, this is how I compare it. I wrote this on Facebook, comparing Bon Scott and Axl Rose is a lot like comparing a Tomahawk cruise missile to a bottle rocket. Sure, they both go bang. Sure, they fly through the air. But one is an absolute weapon of mass rock and roll destruction. That would have been Bon Scott. Just the way he brought it.
I agree. I mean, he really is one of my favorite hard rock singers of all time. And I don't love all hard rock singers because it's very stylized and it's a style that is kind of artificial at times.
Sure.
And is hard to sustain. I mean, it's so hard on the voice.
Well, you should know. I mean, you cover those AC/DC tunes. You had to have in your career.
Well, I do a little bit of the high end, belted out rock singer screeching, but I'm telling you, it is so difficult.
I don't know.
I mean, I can do like one song per night, and I would save it for the end. Like, for example, we used to do Smells Like Teen Spirit. So here I am trying to sing like Kurt Cobain, shriek and wail like Kurt Cobain.
Yeah.
And it is not easy to do.
No.
I can do it, but for about one song.
Yeah. See, now I like Axl Rose when he does his Guns N' Roses stuff because that's where it fits, and he's the one that set the tone for that band. So it completely fits. So, I'm just saying.
Yeah, exactly.
In my opinion, if we had to go comparing apples to apples, I would still have to give it to Bon, even though he's been dead for 30-plus years. I would still give him the mantle of the best ever, according to, in my opinion, of AC/DC frontmen.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, it's one of the few cases where I think you can very reasonably make a case for either of them because they had distinctive sounds. Brian was not imitating Bon. He came in with his own style.
Sure.
And the band adapted, I think, very well to that style, to his style. And so it's one of the few times I think you can make a case that either one of them, was the quintessential AC/DC singer. I can see it absolutely both ways. One, you have longevity and some huge, huge hits. The other was the founder. And they always give more credit to a founder because you're there at the creation. And that's what we're talking about with Guns N' Roses. I mean, Axl is the voice of Guns N' Roses. I wouldn't want to hear, put it this way, I wouldn't want to hear Bon or Brian singing with Guns N' Roses.
Well, I don't know. Bon might have done really well in Guns N' Roses. I'm just saying,
He might have.
With that swagger.
But it wouldn't be the same.
No, it would not be the same. You're absolutely correct. Now, getting away from rock and roll, which we could talk about rock and roll all night, which we have on multiple occasions. We have a heck of a show on tap. Actually, it's breaking news. Years ago, 27 years ago, the clown murder took place in Florida. Palm Beach, Florida. And they did not know who did it. And, of course, we're going to get into that case. But if I watched it tonight, right along with everybody else on World News Tonight, and we brought this up earlier because this is already in the works. It wasn't like something we just thought of out of nowhere. It broke today that they actually arrested somebody in that 27-year-old clown cold case. And we're going to be talking about that tonight. We've got a phenomenal guest on tap that's going to come in and really talk to us. She's kind of like ground zero. And that was, I'm going to try not to butcher the beautiful name, Tonya Alanez is going to be coming on the show. And she'll be talking with us about the case and what the implications are.
Yeah, absolutely. She is an ace reporter down there in the Palm Beach area. And she is now on the case. She wrote a really good background story, bringing everything up to date, what had happened 27 years ago, what we know at the moment as of what came up new in the new round of investigation. We do know it involves DNA analysis. Mm-hmm. No surprise there, 27 years later.
No, yeah, because they didn't have that really back then. I mean, they might have been so rudimentary. that they
did not. They did not.
Yeah,
there's a great quote that we'll get into from a detective who was on the case originally 27 years ago, saying, "Man, it'd have been nice if we'd have had DNA."
Sure, it would have been solved already. We would have had this thing, this baby put to bed already. Yeah, so DNA has definitely been probably, I would say, beyond maybe fingerprinting, the most powerful detective tool there is. That narrows everybody down right then and there.
Well, I think it's absolutely at the heart of why we're seeing so many cold cases.
Yeah.
If not being solved, at least being looked into really, really heavily and deeply once again, which is an amazing thing. Think about it. Think of the relief that comes to the family of these murdered people 10, 20, 30, however many years after the fact. And I'm guessing that the real fundamental link here that did not exist 27 years ago is the DNA. They were able to come up with some circumstantial evidence as well, things that have happened since then, namely that she married the husband of the guy she killed.
Isn't that a weird twist? That is a strange twist. It's really a strange tale, and of course we'll get into that at the top of next hour, and we'll talk to the reporter on the ground with that. Again, that's Tonya Alanez, if I'm not destroying the name, because I love those beautiful Latin names, but they'll sneak
one
up
more
on you.
syllable. I believe it's Alanez.
Alanez. I love the names, I do, but my northern dialect just does not like some of that beautiful last nameage that comes from the Puerto Rican side of things. So, man, that is so cool. We're going to be talking with her, of course, about the case and the implications of and how it was solved. And, of course, we are going to put a big disclaimer that she has not gone to trial yet, the suspect, so we cannot say 100% it was her. But, my gosh, the evidence sure is overwhelming, no, isn't it?
It appears to be, yes.
Yeah,
and there's going to be. It's too bad we're airing tonight because the accused is arriving in Palm Beach tomorrow, and they're going to tomorrow morning, I think, and they're going to have a press conference where they are going to talk about some of the details of what new evidence led to this grand jury, coming up with a murder one indictment.
Well, and that's interesting, the murder one indictment, because as Clarissa has said several times, and she's not here tonight, unfortunately, and she because of work, but she will be back next week. Murder one's the hardest of all to make stick. Generally they got to have a lead pipe lockdown case before they can really confidently say to themselves, we can make murder one go.
Yeah, exactly. And again, that's what one of the detectives was telling Tonya when she interviewed him, saying that that's exactly why, because they had suspected her back then. And there was even some evidence. Looks like there was a pretty fair amount of evidence. But exactly like you say, it's the hardest of all to convict of murder one.
Yeah.
And they're always afraid if they do charge someone when they're not fully ready to go, if that person's acquitted, you can never charge him again.
Well, that's true. Double jeopardy will
double jeopardy.
Yeah, exactly. Again, like I was saying, Dr. Cole's not with us, but she's here in spirit. That being said, Eric will do his best to channel his inner Dr. Cole, and we have your headlines coming at you right now. These are, of course, your true crime headlines brought to you by thecriminalcode.com and, of course, America's-most-haunted.com, because, of course, Eric, as you know, is always feverishly working to give you new content at America's-most-haunted.com. Check it out for all your paranormal needs, and check out the Criminal Code for all you true crime junkies out there. Get your fix right over there.
Oh my, once again, these foolish teachers. What the hell is wrong with them?
Well, I got my own theory on that, but I'll let you tell the tale.
For the life of me. And again, we're looking at pictures. They're not ugly by any means.
No, they're Hottie McHottersons, man. They're cute.
I mean, we're not talking about women who should be, quote unquote, hard up. But here we go.
Yes, sir.
Headline, teachers had threesome with student, 16.
Wow. So 16-year-olds, right? Not
16-year-old, not 16
okay.
people.
All right. And I say, well, that lady knows how to party.
All right. Two English teachers. They had to be English teachers.
They had to be. Why not?
At a Louisiana high school are facing felony charges for allegedly having sexual relations with the same 16-year-old male student whose recent bragging, and isn't that always what gets them?
Always, man, every time.
Bragging to other pupils prompted a criminal investigation targeting the female educators.
And she's not ugly, like you said. She's not an ugly lady. You know, we're not looking at someone that's, like when I was going to school, that was, 70-year-old teacher that smelled like Bengay and Aspercream. Yeah, this is a good-looking gal here. And not saying that what she did was right by any means. But also, I say to myself, where the hell were these teachers when I was going to school?
I know.
Don't you feel a little robbed?
I mean, we've talked about it so many times with Clarissa because it just keeps coming up,
It
and
does. It just won't go
I
away.
think her analysis is pretty spot on. You get women who are they get married, even they have kids, and even though they're still relatively young, relatively good looking, no issues there, they miss the attention, and they're able. You get this weird kind of quasi relationship with students, and some teachers kind of play on that, right? They're a little bit flirty, but they do it, or they pretend anyway that they don't mean anything by it, right? I'm just bestowing on you a little bit of attention. I'm treating you older than you are. Sure. I'm showing you a little bit of respect. So then, of course, obviously, what 16-year-old boy, wouldn't respond in the extreme.
I hear you. Well, they say two of them. Do they show the picture of both? I'm scrolling here. Yes, they do. Okay,
I think there's
do.
The two of them right there at the top.
Of them. Yeah, they're both right there. I mean, they look like normal young women that, quite honestly, you'd think that with all the teachers getting, busted for this, that they would think twice. They'd know, hey, this is inappropriate. I'm going to get in trouble. I shouldn't do this, even though I'm bored, or I need this, or I need that. Quite honestly, the 16-year-old male does not have the adequate emotional skills to be in a relationship that you're seeking. And obviously, I'm sure they weren't seeking emotion. Don't get me wrong. But all the same, these are just kids.
Yeah, it's silly. And people who have no real control over their ever-changing weird bodies, right?
Yeah.
And to have this sort of presented to them, I mean, it's pretty hard to blame the kid. But then, of course, what did he do? Ran around, bragged about it.
That's where he gets caught. And of course he's going to brag
Every
about
time.
it. I mean, he's 16. Of course he's going to be bragging to his buddies, going, guess what I did.
And exactly like I said before I even read it, one of the teachers, the one they're kind of focused on, 32, so right at that right age, married with 3 kids. So exactly what we said.
Talk about throwing everything away, though.
Yeah.
Just chucking it out the window. I mean, I could see a really young teacher fresh out of college. Lines are a little blurred, especially if the student's 18. She's maybe 22. I could see those lines being blurred very easily, but not at 32 and 16. There are no lines being blurred there at all. That's criminal.
Right. Exactly. It's not even close. It's far too young.
Yeah.
The other woman was only 24, so that's quite a bit different.
It's a little bit different, but still at 24, you still know. I mean, what I'm saying, Eric, is
you should know better.
They see this all over the news, and they're educators, and that they have been warned and been talked to about things like this, I'm sure, in seminars and everything else.
God,
and,
yes, over and over.
Yeah. And so, really, quite honestly, they get what they deserve. To be honest with you,
it is dumb as dirt.
It is. It is dumb. It's like my dad used to say, dumb as a bag of hammers.
Yeah,
it is
exactly.
dumb.
I mean, look, if you, a teacher, have these needs, shall we say, don't act them out.
No.
With students.
And not ones you teach anyway. That's for damn sure. You know? Yeah, it just makes no sense to me. And again, they're throwing away families and careers.
So young, fine, 18 and over.
Yeah, but they're destroying families, they're destroying careers, but more importantly, the kids. I mean, that lady has 3 kids. Can you imagine growing up with that stigma now? Your mom was the hot for teacher lady, wasn't she?
Yeah,
you know, stuff like that. So yeah,
it really is. Think how embarrassing.
Yeah, that would be horrible. That is horrible, man.
And the husband's going, "Oh my God, woman, what is
right? Right? He's probably going, "What the hell do you need?" I mean,
16, huh?
Yeah, exactly. So I'd like to also point out that all the headlines tonight are brought to you also by the Smoking Gun. They've been giving us a hand here, Eric. I happen to know one of the editors over there. And so they gave me a little bit of a hand. I didn't do this all on my own picking these headlines. They gave me a little bit of a hand. They gave me the cream of the crop. So wish I could take all the credit, but Bob over there at the Smoking Gun, thanks a ton for hooking us up.
All right. Well, that is very important. That's a great site. I've always liked the Smoking Gun. Bringing up those, they're always the first with the, or they used to be anyway, with the actual indictments and with the mug shots, with the real dirt.
The real McCoy.
All right, well, we got a brand new story right now. This one just broke, yesterday, I guess. A gunman dressed as a Coca-Cola bottle.
A Coke and a smile, yeah.
Coke and a smile robbed a Kentucky restaurant, police report. Investigators say the suspect stuck up a Rally's restaurant in Henderson, Kentucky, just before 7 a.m. Now, what was he doing dressed like a Coke bottle?
That's what I want to know.
7 a.m. on a Monday morning.
Yeah, what was he? I mean, it's too early for Halloween parties. So, he wasn't out there probably not doing a Halloween thing. So this guy's running around, middle of the night kind of thing, 7 a.m., just before 7 a.m., probably been drinking, I don't know, Jack and Coke or something all night, decided, hey, you know what, I'm dressed up like a Coke bottle. What a great time to go rob something.
Yeah, the Rally's was closed. The only one in there was the manager, who was not harmed. Thank goodness, though the robber was armed with a handgun. He got $500, over $500. So, I mean, they're assuming, police are saying, the Coca-Cola outfit, quote unquote, may have been some kind of Halloween costume.
Gee.
I don't know what else it would have been.
Yeah, no kidding. I think you can get him over at the Wally over there, I've seen that costume quite a few different places, but I've never heard of anyone holding up a place. I mean, really, when you describe to the police, so what do you look like? Well, look like a Coca-Cola bottle. I mean, it took them a really long time to narrow down that suspect, didn't it?
Yeah, kind of encased in glass with a brownish liquid inside. That's what he looked like.
Just like that bottle on the shelf over there. Identical, only with a head sticking out.
I love the picture they inserted here.
I do too. I do not think that is the robber. I think it's a model.
It's the actual robber. I believe that is someone displaying a Coke bottle costume.
Maybe that's the lineup picture they used when they had to bring the...
If you happen to have been in the area on the morning of September 26th, in Henderson, Kentucky, police are definitely looking for tips.
They are. He's on the lam, isn't he? They didn't find him.
He has not been found.
Oh, he has not been found yet. I wonder if that explained why they're harassing that Mellow Yellow bottle so hard. We know you know something. Don't make us shake you till you fizz.
We know you're really a Coke bottle inside of that.
Yeah, we know better. We know you all hang around together. Where's he at? Where can we get the Coke at?
So that is quite the tale. That's currently number one most popular story on the Smoking Gun.
It is. And the guy in the Coke bottle running away, he fizzed out of town, man. He's gone.
He blew out of there.
He blew that pop stand. Oh, my God, going all night. All right, Mr. Eric, where do we go next?
Well, more illicit sexual behavior. No. Will they ever
They will never learn. They will never learn.
This one's almost a week ago, but still recent. Landlord gets prison for sex in tenant's home.
So the landlord...
You would think in this day and age,
yeah,
it would occur to you that there might be a security camera.
You might think they might have a webcam on or something for security. So this genius decides that he's going to go into his tenant's home. And he decides... Now, who did he have sex with?
Oh, this is all so grim. All right, let's dig into it. Colorado landlord today was sentenced to 2 years, which I don't know. That seems like a lot. I guess it's the breaking and entering part, I imagine.
It must be.
But, you know, I don't know. I have mixed feelings. Anyway, it was so stupid. Why on earth would anyone do that? Was sentenced to 2 years in prison.
Uh-huh.
Where is that music coming from? I do not know.
Well,
did you hear that?
No,
that
it's on your end, man. It's definitely on your end, not my end. So.
All right, good. I'm glad for that. All right, so anyway, the old autoplay busted out.
You gotta
again,
love it.
Actually.
You have to love it.
Up, and there it goes again.
All
I'm gonna have to close this up here.
Close it up, and I'll continue. All right, a landlord in Colorado, as Eric was saying, he decided he's gonna bust into the couple that rents the apartment in their home. And then he decided that he was going to have sex, of course, in said apartment. Now, Carlos Quandara, I think is how you pronounce that one, Lara, 40, was sentenced on a felony trespassing charge to which he pled guilty in late July. In addition to prison time, an El Paso County judge ordered him to serve 2 years on parole upon his release. So really, Eric, he got 4 years when you think about it.
Wow. Well,
because 2 years of on parole and 2 years in the pen. So he got 4 years out of this little.
That's pretty serious stuff.
That is very.
I mean, does he have a? I can't open the article now. Does he have a record of any kind?
That's what I'm looking for. It says
rather...
conviction stems from a daytime tryst last November in Colorado Springs home of newlywed Logan Pierce and Michaela D'Angelo, who rented the apartment from him after answering a Craigslist ad. Oh my God! It always starts at Craigslist, doesn't it?
Yeah. They even have a picture of it.
Yeah. Here it is. The encounter with another man, was discovered thanks to a home security system that they had installed to catch would-be burglars and not two men getting jiggy with it. Not that there's anything wrong with two men getting jiggy with it, but just don't do it in someone else's
apartment.
Exactly.
I don't know. It's still, unless there's something here as distasteful and disrespectful and obviously illegal as the whole thing is, 4 years.
Well, that is a lot.
Of which 2 are in state prison.
Yeah, that's a little excessive.
No, that seems pretty extreme.
That is. When Pierce checked the live cam feed from the $1,100 a month rental, he saw the perpetrator and his accomplice inside the bedroom. A video of the 6-minute tryst shows the perpetrator and his partner, pictured below, doing things that we should not even talk about on the air. When finished, the perpetrator's partner, his area with a dress that was used at the wedding.
Oof.
So that would be why maybe the judge took such a dim view also of...
It was disrespectful.
It was very disrespectful. It does go on with further notes, but I won't go into that. And they do have footage, of course, but we don't need to see that either. Wow, now I can understand why the judge was so hard on the guy, because, I mean, that is just ridiculously disrespectful. And not only is it invading privacy, but destroying property. There's a whole lot of things going on here, and I'm glad.
Yeah, it's all bad.
It's all bad. Not a one of them is good. Hey, you know what is good, though? Well, maybe not the greatest, but we have to run a break. We come back. We got more of your headlines. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back right after this. After Hours AM, the Criminal Code. We'll be right back after a word from these sponsors.
Green light. Hey girl, school zone. I'm getting hungry. Car changing lanes. You want to meet me for pizza? Stop sign. Intersection clear. Yeah, street. Pizza sounds good. Ballin Street? Girlin Street!
It's hard to concentrate on two things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstopwrecks.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
This is Jen McGowan, founder of Wayward Souls Promotions, a company dedicated to helping individuals, teams, radio shows, and others that are seeking exposure for their individual events, conventions, and shows. We offer a wide variety of advertising, such as web-based article, social media posts, podcast advertisement, and so on. Contact us at paranormalpromotion@gmail.com. Visit us on Facebook at Wayward Souls Promotions, and visit our website at www.waywardsoulspromotions.com.
Welcome back to After Hours AM, the Criminal Code. And welcome back to After Hours AM, everybody. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis, right along with me,
Eric Olsen.
And those smooth tones you just heard were of Elliptical. Yes, I always get asked who that is. That cool, futuristic, funky rock and roll. That would be Elliptical. And you know the
Elliptical
guys.
Rules, huh?
Yeah, you also know those guys. So, I mean, that's what helps.
I know them when I look in the mirror.
Yeah, of course. Again, if you don't know that is Eric Olsen. He put that stuff together. Him and a partner of his, and they made those.
Mike Crooker. We must always give Mike.
Gotta give Mike the credit, and you guys got together and made those cool sample-y type music. I mean, you brought everything together, and it sounds so cool. And if you ask me really, really nicely, I will give you Elliptical tracks with Eric's permission, if you do ask.
You can have them.
All right, good. So I will be emailing those out to the people that have been asking, hey, man, I like that music. Where can I get it? I'll email you some tracks. Don't worry about it, guys. I'll hook you up, courtesy of After Hours AM and America's Most Haunted. All right, which way are we going now?
Well, let's see. Let's see what other madness has unfolded before us. Ooh, we're deviating from the smoking gun here for a bit.
Yep.
All right, what do we have to say? Carolyn Boyle's guilty plea is her ticket to the Cancer Faker Hall of Fame.
Oh, my God. What happened? I mean, that's horrible. Fake the old cancer.
On August 22nd, a U.S. District Court judge sentenced Highlands Ranch resident. Let's see, where is this? What state are we in here?
I don't. It looks like we are.
I guess Colorado once again.
Again. Here we are in Colorado.
It's either Colorado or Florida.
One of the two.
Time,
and once in a great while, we get an Ohio story, but that is few and far between compared to those two. Those two juggernauts of strange crime.
They are the Twin Peaks.
They are. They truly are. For we're not for Colorado and Florida, we wouldn't have much of a show.
All right, so Highlands Ranch resident Caroline Zarate Boyle, after she pleaded guilty to ripping off her former employer, the U.S. Postal Service, by pretending to have cancer.
Oh, my Lord.
This admission and the punishment she'll receive as a result, outlined below, have earned her a place in the Colorado Cancer Faker Hall of Fame, which has inducted 7 members in the past 8 years.
Wow.
So about once a year, someone in Colorado goes, I have an excellent idea. I'll never get caught, of course.
Okay, now how did she think? It does go on. I see there. How did she get caught? I mean, cancer is such one you really can't fake long term. You know, I'm just saying. Generally speaking, that's not a long term ruse.
What they're doing is they're telling us about all the other members of the Hall of Fame here.
That was not joking. I thought that was joking. They're actual members.
They've gone. This is a real thing.
It is.
They're giving us every case, all of these 8 cases in 7 years. And they're doing it in chronological order. I assume we're going to get up to the current case.
I would hope so. I mean, she can't place really high. Oh, someone used their kid.
Yeah.
Oh, that's horrible.
Shaving the kid's head.
I know, make him look like a cat. And that person deserved everything they got. And then there's even a doctor that did it. Come on. That's ridiculous. October 7th,
so we
2016.
Finally work our way in chronological order through the Hall of Shame, the Colorado Cancer Faker Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Which is ignominious to at best. All right, so this woman, Caroline Zarate Boyle, according to the U.S. Attorney's Office, Boyle, 59-year-old Postal Service employee, faked cancer in order to claim over 100 days of sick leave and be allowed to work from home. Well, she didn't get all that much out of it.
Not really. When you think about 100 days of sick leave, work from home.
Wow.
I mean,
okay. She is accused of having forged several notes from doctors, emailing them to supervisors. Unfortunately for her, prosecutors say some of the info in the emails was inaccurate. For instance, she's said to have misspelled the name of her supposed physician.
Oh boy. That'll get you.
Whose employees told investigators that she wasn't receiving treatment. Yeah, so look, here's the lesson. If you're going to forge something,
at least
spell it correctly.
That's right. That's the first sign you're going to get busted is the misspelling of a name. That will get you.
So what's the update here? That guilty plea.
Yeah.
The attorney's office is sharing new information about her motivation. Ooh, here we go. It's the post. She went postal on him.
She did. She did go postal.
Skipped over for a promotion.
Oh, she got mad. Okay. So
she got mad because she was skipped over for a promotion, retaliated by telling supervisors she'd been diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And she took, like we said, 100 days off, and she also worked from home. Sentence calls for 5 years probation, 6 months of the sentence spent in home confinement.
She loves it at home anyway. So.
Yeah, I mean, she went through all that trouble.
Yeah, she went through all that trouble. Wow, she was just a little over a month from retirement, which she planned to celebrate with a Hawaiian cruise.
Oh, man, did she blow it big time. So really, all she got out of this, as far as I can tell, they put a dollar value on the time off and all that nonsense. And all she gained was $20,000, almost $21,000. Was that worth ruining the rest of your life?
No.
At 59, almost 60, I would say no.
One of our listeners just popped up through Facebook saying, hey, I heard this story recently on one of the morning shows, and it would seem that before that person in question faked her own cancer diagnosis, she accused another employee of faking their cancer diagnosis, which is a person unfortunately truly did have cancer.
Oh, my goodness.
Talk
about adding insult to injury. What a nightmare.
Yeah, that is a nightmare.
I don't think she's a nice woman.
No, you know what? Just looking at her, though, she looks mean. I mean, look at her. I mean, you can just tell. She's like, I'm going to get the world.
I'm getting $21,000.
No matter whether you like it or whether you don't, I'm getting it.
I'm going to get you. I was passed over.
That's right. You're going to pay. You're going to pay 21.
Think about from the post office point of view, though. Even if she was absolutely qualified, why would they promote someone who's just about to retire?
Well, yeah, that makes no sense. If she's a month away from retirement and she was only 100 days out, obviously, because she took 100 days of sick leave. Yeah, why would they promote somebody that's getting ready to, hang it up, call it a career? That really does make no sense. Why should even be mad at all? What she should have done is to just turn around taking 100 days early retirement is what she should have done. Been like, hey, can I take this last 3 months off? I want to go do a few things. Would that be cool?
And it's the freaking government. You can do whatever you want.
Exactly. So she could have easily probably applied for early retirement through the Postal Service and got it with only 100 days left to work.
And she probably could have even included in there something about disappointment at not being promoted.
Sure. Said, hey, you know what? I was kind of a little upset. I was
kind of holding out for that.
I was hoping that I could end my career on a high note by gaining this promotion, but no, you decided to make me all butthurt, so I thought I'd fake the cancer thing, and that didn't fly so well. And here I'm sitting here listening After Hours AM while they're talking about me with my monitor on.
Because I'm stuck in my house.
Because I'm stuck with my house, and these guys are making fun of me now. Man, life just is not good for me.
No, it's, so it's a cautionary tale, my friends.
It is. Carolyn, next time, do a back injury. They're harder to prove, I've been told.
Exactly. Don't pull that nonsense.
Yeah, exactly. But something tells me you're not going to Hawaii anytime soon.
No,
so enjoy riding that couch.
Well, at least not for 6 months, anyway.
Yep, exactly. You are on the bench for 6 months. All right, what do we got next, sir?
All right. Well, we're back to the smoking gun, and look at that selfie.
Wow.
All right. So
man, he looks like a cross.
God is digging deep for this one.
He kind of looks like a cross between Elvis Presley and an old Elvis Presley and a really old Johnny Depp.
He looks like also. You remember Peter Wolf of the the lead singer of the Jay Giles band?
Yes, I do. You're right. He looks...
And you never saw him without sunglasses.
That's
so I
true.
actually don't know what Peter Wolf's eyes look like. But put sunglasses on this guy, and he looks like Peter Wolf.
Wow, you're right. Now I'm looking at him. That might have been Peter Wolf. We just don't know.
No,
but
I hope not. Peter.
You have fallen. How far you have fallen from grace.
How far
that
the
is you.
mighty have fallen.
Exactly. No, this guy's name is Adam, so don't worry.
All right, so here's the tale. Man busted for baguette battery at Safeway. I think that's an alliteration. California man attacked a Safeway employee with a baguette Sunday morning, according to police who arrested the man on a battery charge. On a baguette battery charge, obviously.
A bogus baguette charge.
Investigators, there's a whole army of them on this case. Investigators allege that Adam Kowarsh or something like that. Kowarsh.
Whatever you want to call him. Why don't we just call him dumbass?
39 entered the supermarket just before midnight and began yelling and screaming. Never a good idea.
No, that's never good. That never sets the tone correct.
Especially just before midnight.
Yeah, it always sets the tone wrong when you come in yelling.
Oh well, it just went downhill from there. When Kowarsh ignored employee directions to leave the business, an employee summoned cops to the store in Fremont, a city in the San Francisco Bay Area. Prior to the arrival of the police, Kowarsh was pushing and hitting an employee multiple times with a loaf of French bread.
Take that! You'll never take me alive! You will never take me alive.
Stout-hearted baguette
must have not
fallen apart.
You know that was more than a day old.
Listen to this. While the male employee did not sustain major injuries during the baguette attack, he most definitely wanted to press charges.
Oh, I bet he did.
Investigators, remember, there's an army of them.
Yes, there is.
They noted. That is him. That's him. That's Kowarsh, seen above.
Wow, man, look at him. He is. And he's only 39, and he looks like
he looks agged out.
He looks 69 right there.
He looks smoked out.
Oh my God, that guy has lived a hard life. Look at that.
He has a lengthy rap sheet.
Oh, he's got priors. Oh no.
It's not looking good.
No, and he was also going to be charged with. It looks like here with. Of course, a battery count, and he's charged with probation violation.
Assault with a baguette weapon.
It is a deadly weapon after all, especially if those things are more than a day old. They get pretty rock hard.
They get hard.
They do. Locked up on $5,000 bail in the Alameda County Jail. Kowarsh, who has a lengthy rap sheet, is scheduled to be arraigned today on 2 counts or 2 criminal charges. So, moral of the story
there you
is,
go.
Don't use the loaf to beat people up, all right? Just don't grab that bread.
I don't even know what that selfie is supposed to
represent. I have no
idea.
I mean, that is a horrible selfie. Just saying, if you look like you're a reject from the Jay Giles band, you might not want to be taking selfies. I'm just saying.
If you're 39 and look 59,
right?
And look like you've been beaten about the face and neck with a baguette, don't take selfies.
No, it doesn't look like he's real partial to showering. I'm going to go on a limb to say that hair is pretty greasy the way it's slicked back. I think that's natural grease, man. That's not old slick right there. That's actually the guy oozes disgusting. All right.
Yeah.
He really does.
Well, he's locked up.
Yeah, so we don't have to worry about it. Maybe he's gonna sing some Jake Osband stuff.
The baguettes are safe for a while.
Yeah. Maybe he's gonna sing Centerfold for everybody when he goes in there.
All right.
My
so
blood
after
runs
that,
cold.
what can you do but move on to police hunt for armed naked candy bandit?
And the things just keep getting better.
That's the only place you can go.
Yes, that is it. Wow. All right. Cops are hunting for a nude man, Eric, who held up a South Carolina convenience store at gunpoint and escaped with only Reese's peanut butter cups, according to the incident report. The naked candy bandit walked into the Scotchman store in Myrtle Beach just before midnight. Why is this all happening?
Just before midnight.
Exactly. What is it about that time that makes them all want to go crazy? Last Monday, a Horry County Police Department report notes an officer responding to a 911 call spoke to a 51-year-old worker who stated an unknown black man came into the store naked with a gun in his hand and stole the candy. I wonder if he said, "Is that gun in your hand, or are you just happy to see me?" The victim said that the suspect pointed the gun at him while he was running toward the candy. "I'm going to get that candy." No, the robber stole Reese's peanut butter cups and left, reported the cops. I mean, he didn't do anything. He took the cups and left. Who estimated that the suspect was between 18 and 30 years old. The suspect, I mean, how would you go about turning that one in? You know, I mean, obviously guys have clothes on now, so was there any distinguishing marks? Yes, he had a mole in his right butt cheek. How are they going to get that? How are they going to narrow that one down?
Look for a naked man with chocolate on his face.
Look for a guy that's got a Reese's peanut butter cup and a smile and is not wearing clothes. Because Reese's always make me smile. It seems to me,
if you're going to go all out and get naked and use a gun, so now we're talking armed robbery.
We are. We are.
Very serious offense.
That is very serious. Now, this is what I think is funny. The suspect, the employee said, was naked except for a bandana over his face and a pair of black shoes. The gunman, the witness added, did not say anything or approach him. Wow.
No, he just grabbed the Reese's and ran.
And he ran. Sometimes, you know, that chocolate craving just comes over you, and you got to grab that Reese's. And
you just have to nude up.
You just got to do it nude. I mean, there's no other style points.
Grab
definitely
that gun, shed those clothes, and head to the Scotchman.
You know what's funny about the smoking gun is they actually show you the documents of the actual police report if you click on it.
I know
that's kind of cool about.
I love that about them.
And then, of course, the reporting cop who was unable to locate the robber reported that the convenience store does have surveillance, but he was unable at that time was unavailable. Sorry about that, tripping over my own tongue. At the time of this report, before releasing the incident report, cops redacted a description of the handgun as well as the dollar amount of the Reese's stolen from the store. He owes $1.83 and he had a black gun, but man, we give him style points to the black Nikes. At least it took time to put those Nikes on and run through the store. We know that we will no longer have to be in fear of athlete's foot possibly being on the floor. I mean, come on, Eric. If you're working that counter, let's just say, and you know you're making minimum wage, all right? Most people at gas stations, they're working at a gas station because they need that job at the gas station. What would your first thought be when you watch the black guy or whoever guy or yellow guy, pink guy, doesn't matter, any guy, bust through naked with a gun? Do you stop and laugh first, or do you go, "Oh my God, he's naked, he's got a gun," and run?
I would not do any sudden movements. I would lay low. I would allow him to do whatever it was he was intending to do. I would keep low key about it. I would say, hey, this place has insurance and it's got closed circuit TV.
Have you ever been involved in a robbery? Not that you are being the robber, but have you ever been present during anything like that going on?
That's a good question. Let me think. Not that I can recall. I've not been in a public place that I can think of when it was robbed. No, I guess I've been pretty lucky.
Yeah, I've never had that happen either. I was just curious because, I mean, you've led a pretty colorful life, my friend.
I have stumbled into, convenience marts in the middle of the night and seen the tape up, the crime scene tape up.
Oh, man, that gives you a nice feeling.
I remember one time stumbling through the tape because I wasn't really paying any attention. And
yeah,
I had my designs on a quart, I believe, of some disreputable beer.
Sure.
And or maybe malt liquor.
Did you ever get the 40? You ever get the 40 ounces when you're young?
Of course.
Did you get the 40s? Oh yeah, the 40s.
Needless
man.
to say,
that's right. That's the way it's done right there. Now
that's 3 1/3 beers.
Look
there
at
in
that.
one hand,
and it's at a price that's great. I mean, that is truly the value of malt liquor right there. You can get a lot of it for cheap. Now,
Absolutely.
if I was working that counter and the guy pointed the gun at me, I'd turn around and say, "Hey, your fly's down."
See, I don't know if I would do that because he might shoot me.
He might shoot. Yeah, that's true. That is true.
Whenever the few times that I have seen guns brandished, oh boy,
you've seen guns brandished before?
Oh yeah,
really?
Yeah. I've seen people pull out. I saw someone pull out a gun at a fraternity party.
What?
Oh my God! Yeah, I was DJing.
What becomes the tone of the room when the gun gets pulled?
Markedly different.
I would imagine things get real.
The fun is sucked out of the room.
The fun is
like
gone as soon as that
like
gun.
A bunny.
Yeah, that's as soon as that gun comes out, the whole party's over. I mean, that's a party killer right there.
I know my beloved alma mater, Wittenberg University. Oops, I said it. Would not want me to say this, but when I was a freshman. I was in my dorm room. It was on a very, very nice, warm, sunny spring day. And a student who I knew, not well, but, knew to talk to,
Sure.
at least, say hi,
Yeah,
converse with in a pleasant, banterish manner, went streaking by my open dorm room door carrying a gun.
What?
Brandishing a gun. He was running by my door holding a gun. As it turned out, he had shot a fellow student.
No kidding. Wow.
No kidding.
Man, so you're sitting there minding your own business, drinking your
No
40.
beeswax.
Drinking your 40. And now they got from the store stumbling to the crime tape.
Well, this was daytime.
Okay,
I don't know if I would have had a 40.
So you're sitting there, daytime, broad daytime, right?
Daytime.
You're
on the
sitting
weekend,
there
probably
in
Saturday.
your dorm, hanging out, probably listening to some Led Zeppelin, an old 8-track, or the tapes,
Exactly.
or whatever you had at the time.
Some such thing. Exactly.
You see your roommate streaking by at 180 miles an hour, naked as a jaybird, carrying a gun.
No, he wasn't naked, but he did have a gun.
Oh, he did have a gun. I thought he was naked streaking by. When you said streaking, I thought you meant he literally was streaking naked by.
That was deceptive on my part. I meant streaking as in just running like a bat out of hell.
Gotcha, because he
And
shot
followed
man.
on his heels were various security guards.
I would imagine.
And other students. I mean, it was like a movie, you know?
Yeah.
I'm looking out my door. I'm just looking out. I see this guy who I knew, blasting by with a gun in his hand. He's kind of waving it around. And followed very shortly thereafter by various, like I say, security guards, other students.
My God, it's like something on a movie, yeah.
Random administrators. Who knew? It was like
people with villagers,
like a parade behind it.
Villagers with pitchforks and torches coming behind.
Exactly. It was like he was leading a parade. It's actually a really very, very sad story.
That is very sad.
This was a black student.
Mm-hmm.
Wittenberg had, at that time, approximately the same percentage of black minority students as, not just black, but minority as the general population. It was something like 12%.
Yeah, pretty low at that point, yeah.
It was about 12. So, there weren't a ton of them. I actually had a black roommate my freshman year, and we got along extremely well. We were good buds. He was a basketball player. I think he only stayed at Wittenberg 2 years, which is too bad. He was a good guy. I liked him quite a bit. He was from Toledo. Anyway, he was not in the room at the time. I was there by myself. So this guy, who was a black student, he had been harassed.
Oh, okay.
By some white fraternity members, large football-playing white fraternity students.
You know what they say, though, Eric? The gun equalizes everything.
That's pretty great equalizer. All right, so in retaliation for this poor treatment, humiliation, he had, I don't know where the gun came from, but he grabbed the gun, got it from wherever he got it, and he went back to the location where this had happened, allegedly, to him, which was an outdoor event. It was a party at the school, an outdoor party at the school. All right? Well, the irony of the matter is he went up to similar looking, but not the same people who had been harassing him and shot one of them.
Oh, my God.
But had nothing to do with it.
Oh.
I mean, it's really kind of nuts.
That is really nuts, and that's a horrible story. I mean, we make light of it.
Horrible story. The person was not killed. I don't remember ultimately what. I don't think he had any permanent. I hope. I'm thinking. I don't think he had any permanent damage. I remember him being on crutches maybe for quite a long time.
Yeah,
but he was not killed, and I hope, did not have permanent damage. So the whole thing was this big, weird, stupid misunderstanding.
Sure.
I don't even know ultimately, what happened as far as the charges, because obviously charges were pressed. He was ultimately caught. No one else was shot. Nothing like that. He really broke down and said what had happened, and it was clear he had just basically lost his mind out of this, incident and this humiliation, and he was just horrified that he'd even shot the wrong person, Yeah. And I don't even remember what happened. But yes, I have seen that's the one that comes to mind as far as seeing a gun up close, being waved, at least somewhat in anger. I don't think he was going to shoot anyone else, but who knows?
I watched. I was deer hunting when I was a kid, and I went with a guy I went to high school with, and we both had high-powered rifles, and it's not really a laughing matter, but it was kind of a laughing matter at that point because, the guy shot himself in the foot is what he did. And it wasn't like an accident, like, oh my God, he was messing around. Going, oh, I wonder if I pulled the trigger, what would happen? And he's going, that whole thing, oh, I'm going to shoot myself, and then evidently he put a little too much pressure, that last practical joke, and oh man, high-power rifle, close range, it is not pretty. Ugh. And thank God he had nice boots on because, we didn't see the grotesque stuff under there, but I'll never forget that, the look of shock on his face. But, of course, that's self-inflicted, and people are like, wow, you are truly dumb, aren't you? And,
that's you are dumb as a dirt-covered bag of hammers.
Yeah, exactly. And so I didn't feel too tremendously bad for the guy, although I did feel bad for him, of course, the pain and all. But, after he was all healed up, and there's a lot of surgery involved to get his foot back, and so he could walk, And he says, boy, I sure was stupid. You think? You think you might have been a little stupid there? Yeah, pretty
that
stupid.
Was the certainly smartest thing.
Yes, but what you're talking about, but what you're talking about is absolute gun violence, and that is, I know we made a light of it in the beginning of the story, but that's nothing to mess around with. That is something that is plagued.
The whole thing is tragic.
It is all tragic.
Why was he being harassed? That's awful.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And then for him to lose it, and to, let's face it, wildly overreact, and then shoot the wrong person.
Yeah, I was going to say, I suppose, when you're in that kind of frame of mind, and he was obviously under duress mentally, that maybe the target in his mind was who he thought it was, and he did what he did. But we will never know. I mean, I would imagine you did not hear conclusion to all this. But, again, gun violence, man, is plaguing this country, and even back when you were going to school, which was not like in the 1800s. but it was a fair bit ago. Was very prevalent. We got to get out of here. We got to come back. We're going to unmask the clown killer of Florida. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back right after this. After Hours AM, the Criminal Code. We'll be right back after a word from these sponsors.
Ranger Station, Ranger speaking.
Yeah, hi. I'd like to report a bear sighting.
Location.
My backyard.
Oh, your backyard. Try telling a bear that.
I did, and this bear talked back.
Talking bear, that's rich.
No, wait, it was Smokey Bear.
Smokey? Why didn't you say so?
I did say so.
Continue.
I was burning yard waste.
No, boy.
He told me to burn legally and responsibly, and to remember that if it's too hot to touch, it's too hot to leave.
And as always, he's right. You know, 9 out of 10 wildfires are caused by humans. That means 9 out of 10 wildfires can be prevented.
Yeah, I know that now.
Thanks to me.
Actually, thanks to Smokey.
As usual, the talking bear gets all the credit. Get your Smokey on. Always burn responsibly and contact your local fire department for open burning regulations. Because 9 out of 10 wildfires can be prevented. Brought to you by Smokey Bear, the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council. Learn more at smokeybear.com.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Hi, Tom Bodette. If you can hear me, then you have an internet connection, which means you can do cool things online, like listen to streaming radio, obviously, or watch a video of a monkey washing a cat. Let your freak flag fly. Or you can book a room at a great price at Motel6.com. Isn't the internet wonderful? Everything you want right at your fingertips, and whoa, did not need to see that. I'm Tom Bodette for Motel 6, and we'll leave the light on for you.
This is Jen McGowan, founder of Wayward Souls Promotions, a company dedicated to helping individuals, teams, radio shows, and others that are seeking exposure for their individual events, conventions, and shows. We offer a wide variety of advertising, such as web-based article, social media posts, podcast advertisement, and so on. Contact us at paranormalpromotion@gmail.com, visit us on Facebook at Wayward Souls Promotions, and visit our website at www.waywardsoulspromotions.com.
Patients can't afford a place to stay when the best treatment is far from home. A room shouldn't be the difference between life and death. Let's make sure that everyone who needs a room gets one. Let's make some noise. Let's help the American Cancer Society finish the fight.
Text ROOM to 41518 to donate $10. Only in the forest can you see this. But nothing beats the moment you see that. That's your child's eyes opening up to a world of possibilities.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org. Learn about forests near you and discover cool things to do when you go. And you might just see this. Visit discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to After Hours AM, the Criminal Code. Welcome back to After Hours AM, everybody. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis. Right along with me,
Eric Olsen.
And those beautiful tones you just heard, of course, Midnight Syndicate. We're gearing up for the magical season of Halloween, and they released a new album. So we're playing that here and there, sprinkling that in. But we have a great show on tap for everybody. Eric, who are we talking to, and what are we talking about tonight, man?
A quick aside before I get into that. Our buds, who you just just mentioned, will be appearing all season long at Cedar Point live for the first time since 2014. So Midnight Syndicate live at Cedar Point's Hollow Weekend. All right, as to the tale, on Memorial Day 1990, Marlene Warren, 40, was at her ranch-style house in the affluent Aero Club development of Wellington in Palm Beach County, where the neighborhood had a private landing strip with taxiways to each home. Her son, Joseph Ahrens, and several of his friends were also there. Finishing up breakfast around 10:45, they noticed a White Chrysler LeBaron pull into the driveway, and a person dressed as a clown carrying a flower arrangement and 2 balloons exited the vehicle and approached the front door. Marlene answered the front door, and as the clown offered the items to her, witnesses heard a gunshot, and Marlene fell to the ground. The person dressed as a clown calmly walked back to the LeBaron and drove away. Marlene sustained a gunshot wound to the face and was transported to Palm West Hospital, where she died 2 days later. During the initial investigation, detectives identified a suspect, Sheila Keen, but an arrest was never made. However, in 2014, the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office Cold Case Unit reopened the homicide investigation. Witnesses were recontacted and additional DNA analysis was conducted. It also came to light that Sheila Keen had married Michael Warren, Marlene Warren's husband, in 2002. Both had been living in Tennessee, operating a restaurant together. As a result of the investigation, probable cause was established, linking Sheila Keen Warren to the murder of Marlene Warren. She has now, at 54, been indicted for that murder. And we got a great story that gives all the pertinent information, brings us up to date, as well as background information in the Palm Beach Sun-Sentinel from Tonya Alanez. Tonya is an experienced staff writer with the Palm Beach Sun-Sentinel. She covers crime, cops, and breaking news in Broward County. Since joining the Sun-Sentinel in 2005, Alanez has also covered criminal courts and numerous legislative sessions in Tallahassee. She's also witnessed and covered 2 death row executions. We probably want to talk about that, too. Tonya is swift on breaking news, solid on rewrite, and frequently tapped to anchor stories for reporters in the field. She has an eye for telling details and an ear for quotes that matter. She was the outstanding graduate in journalism news editorial at the University of Oregon and is a sun worshiper, beach lover, and Java junkie. Welcome to the program, Tonya.
Hello, how are you? Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you, Tonya, for coming on the show, especially on short notice as this whole case is breaking and it's unfolding in front of all of us. We do a true crime show, and I gotta say, Tonya, without Florida, we wouldn't have much of a show.
No, you wouldn't. I'm sure we're probably featured every other show or so.
Truly you are. And being there, living in the great state of Florida, which is a beautiful state, don't get me wrong. What is it about Florida, in your opinion, that keeps grabbing those crazy, funny crime headlines?
It's hard to say. It's the way we're situated, so close to so many different places, so many countries, so many islands. The weather is great. It draws a lot of people here. And maybe the heat gets to people and brings out something in them. I don't know. But it's a crazy place.
It definitely is. And when I first heard about this case, and the first time in years, this is the first time I heard about this case, right away what came to mind was, this has got to be a joke. Really? A clown killing somebody? Come on. It doesn't get, weirder than that. But then digging into the case, there's a lot of nuts and bolts to this. It's more than just that a clown shows up at the door and the lady's dead. There's a lot of backstory going on. So if you could give us your best estimation of the perpetrator, who was she to these people, and why would she have that motive?
All right. Well, you would think that just a killer clown alone makes quite a story. But
yes.
This one, as you said, has a lot of elements to it. The suspect who was arrested yesterday evening in Virginia, her name is Sheila Keen Warren. Now, back in the day, she was Sheila Keen, and she worked repossessing cars for Michael Warren, who owned a used car dealership. And she worked for him and was alleged to be having an affair with him. So they early on were suspects in this murder, but it kept playing out further and further as detectives pieced together the case.
Because I was going to say, it has all the earmarks of a crime of passion in a lot of ways, minus the clown car and the LeBaron. Take away all that. That has a real mark of passion to it. It was a personal killing.
It would appear so. Shot in the face seems pretty personal.
I don't think you can get much more personal. Yeah.
Sheila, also, as detectives unfolded the case, they found a few other connections that tied her into the clown costume and the Chrysler LeBaron. That car had been reported stolen from a car rental agency and ended up being linked to Michael Warren's car dealership, where Sheila worked repossessing cars. Also, the same day that the murder happened, police got a tip that just 2 days before, at a local costume shop, a woman who looked like Sheila had gone in and bought the whole clown costume, the wig, the nose, the face paint, the gloves, and two of the clerks there actually picked Sheila out of a photo lineup.
Oh,
and
wow.
then, go ahead.
I was going to say, that's pretty damning right there on its own.
You would think so.
you know.
And then it came to light that she had once, for an unknown reason, she was a frequent customer at an auto parts store in a small nearby town called Pahokee, and she had for some reason gone in there dressed as a clown once a few years prior.
Wow.
So we've got the buying the clown costume, the past practice of dressing up as a clown, and then also clerks at a local grocery store, which was within a mile of Sheila's house, recognized the flower arrangement and the balloons and remembered the woman who came in to buy it about 90 minutes before the murder happened. And they also picked out Sheila as the woman who had come in and bought that.
That's insane. You would have thought right there that would have been enough at least for an arrest warrant. With all that circumstantial evidence there, that you would have thought that there would have been enough right then and there.
Well, when you're not a lawyer or a prosecutor, it often seems that way, that circumstantial evidence really, kind of piles up and makes the case. But I think prosecutors are always worried about double jeopardy.
Sure.
If they take a weak case to trial and they get a not guilty, that's it. They can't get more evidence and try the case again.
Well, generally we have I don't mean to butt in, but we generally have a forensic psychologist on staff that normally co-hosts the show with us. And she said those exact words that you just did. The reason why they're so hesitant is, especially in a murder one rap, they don't go for murder one very often unless they know they got this thing in the bag and it's so airtight that they got this, not a problem, is because the double jeopardy. If for some weird quinkerdink they get off, so to speak, they cannot retry them. They're done. They could turn around and say, "Yep, I did it. There ain't nothing you can do about it now."
That's exactly right. That's the way it works.
Well, Tonya, and this is pointed out by your article, your excellent article, again, in the Palm Beach Sun-Sentinel. Check it out. You can go to our article at americas-most-haunted.com and find the links and get the pictures and whatnot. But in Tonya's article, she speaks with retired detective Bill Williams. You want me to quote some of that, or you want to talk about what you found out from Bill? Just kind of reinforcing what we were just saying.
Well, I'll just read some of the quotes. That was actually a colleague of mine who spoke with him. Today we had a whole team working on the story. Everybody was putting out calls, trying to find relatives, trying to find, colleagues, former associates, former neighbors, anything we could. So we were all making calls, and the detective was one of my colleagues made that call. Let me just scroll through here and find his comments. But basically, he commended the sheriff's office for sticking with the case, persevering, and being able to get an indictment this many years later, decades later. And he also brought up the possibility of just the chance that they wouldn't have gotten a guilty verdict, and that would have been their only chance. He says, quote, "I know we presented the case and we had ongoing meetings with assistant state attorneys, and it was always go back and get more. And you can't blame them for wanting more evidence to build a more solid case. They could have rolled the dice and lost, and you could have never charged her again."
That's true. There comes that double jeopardy thing. Yeah, because that's time and time again when we do these shows and we talk about cases, and especially dealing with murder one, the more evidence, the more evidence you can have gives you that much more of a chance to gain that conviction. And, I'm looking at I shouldn't say the young lady, but I'm looking at Sheila's picture right now, and, it doesn't scream murderer to me. She's got a nice smile on her face. She looks like middle America kind of person. Now, when she was apprehended, when she was brought to justice by U.S. Marshal Service went and got her, what did her neighbors say? I mean, what did the people that have known her for the last few years, 15 years or so, have to say about the whole thing?
Well, neighbors nearby said they were shocked that that she was a well-liked, well-trusted neighbor. They'd trust her with anything, and they felt like there must be some kind of mistake.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So neighbors seem shocked. Nobody expects their neighbor to end up arrested on a murder charge.
Well, yeah. What? Sheila, what are you talking about? She's a great neighbor. We've known her for 15 years. What are you talking about? She murdered someone.
Exactly.
I could understand their dismay. Going, what are you? You got to be making a mistake here. But DNA now doesn't lie.
DNA is pretty solid, and it's come a long way in the last 27 years. So, it may be evidence that they had all along, but now they were able to test it to a degree where they could get a match. We don't know yet, and we really won't know more of those details about how the investigation really tied them to her this long after, until after tomorrow morning. There's going to be a press conference with the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office.
Now, purely speculating, and we know that you being an ace reporter, that's something you hate to do, but we're going to make you do it. Please give us just kind of, you're at the hub there, right? So you're kind of piecing together the tale from all these different reporters, and you're at the center of the wagon wheel there, drawing all this in. Give us a little bit of just a overview of what you, in pure speculation, what led to the killing, what happened after that, and where do you think she is now? But especially back then, what she was a 27-year-old having an affair with this woman's husband.
Well, that's it's all alleged, but that's what they say. That's what detectives say they found out. She was 27. Her alleged lover, he was 38.
Sure.
She worked for him. They apparently went out together for long lunches. She had separated from her husband at the time, at the beginning of that year, 1990, in January. And from that point on, Michael Warren paid her rent even.
Oh,
so
wow.
that was one more little tie to bring them together and kind of, make it seem that there was definitely a relationship there. Then there was also, they bring up other aspects of, like, the Warrens owned a whole lot of property. They owned this very, very lavish home in this very, affluent community. They had more than $1 million worth of properties that they rented out, and the business that Michael had. So, maybe that there was some incentive in all of that kind of thing. But
how was she set financially when the alleged crime happened? Was she kind of on the rougher end of things, didn't have a lot of money, maybe saw a way of getting out of poverty, and of course, the older gentleman being able to take care of her, in quotations, of course, and make her life the fairy tale that I would imagine that at that time she was envisioning.
Yeah, you're really trying to force me into speculation there.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to. I really don't. It's human nature to go.
Yes, he does.
Yeah, I do. Okay, I do, Tonya. I do.
Perhaps. I mean, she was a separated single mom living in an apartment in Palm Beach, working repossessing cars. I mean, that makes me think probably it was a little rough and ends were hard to meet. And if she was involved with Michael Warren, he may have seemed like somebody who had a lot going on and could give her, some security, some financial security and comforts.
Is there any speculation about his involvement?
Well, he's always been a suspect all along as well. Most everyone I talk to think there's just no way he couldn't be involved or know of it or been, help plan it or whatever. But, police aren't talking about that right now. They say it's still an open investigation. Yeah. Maybe that's a signal that, there's more to come. You never know. Maybe they, Sheila gets in custody of the sheriff's office here, and
sings,
they scare her.
Yeah.
They
Sings
scare
like
her enough, and maybe they flip
singing.
her.
Yeah, she'll sing like a songbird.
I also noticed the husband. Sorry, Joel. The husband of them both had some legal problems of his own. Looked like he was running a chop shop. Dealing with stolen cars, racketeering. He was charged with all that way back around the same time period.
Yeah, he had many, I think it was like 60-some counts that he ended up getting charged with. And this all came to light during the murder investigation. Mm-hmm. And I think it was mainly he was setting back odometers. He sold and rented used cars. So he was setting back the mileage on the odometers.
Oh, boy, do I have a story for you then. When I was in my 20s, I worked as a repo man for a used car dealership, and this same guy that I was working for was setting back odometers himself. And I remember the repo business does not pay all the greatest, especially when we're talking about the 1990s. It's not like you're raking it in. Generally, you're given a finder's fee sometimes if you're able to find one that was really hard to find, and it's really not a lucrative gig. And that's why it's usually 20-somethings are doing it, because they feel invincible. Until, of course, things go wrong, and things do go wrong when you're repoing someone's car in the middle of the night. But
I would think so.
Oh, gosh, yeah, that's why I don't do it anymore. That's why I'm in radio in my safe studio. But the thing of it is that's a hard lifestyle. I mean, you got to be a certain kind of individual to repo cars. I know that from firsthand knowledge. You got to be kind of on the rougher side of things. So,
right?
She must have been a tough cookie back then.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you think of a repo man, you don't often think of a repo lady.
Mm-mm.
And when you do, I think of someone must be kind of a little bit tough.
Yeah, exactly. And usually has a mullet. That's what I envision. Some of the mullet.
I think of the Repo Man movie. I think of that. It's a classic.
Me too. I love that movie.
Yeah.
Seen it many times.
What a soundtrack. Hard, punky soundtrack. It was. I used to play that over and over again. I probably like the music as much or more than the film. That was at early, Emilio Estevez, right? Wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Early 80s.
Is that the Repo Man, the genetic opera you guys are talking about, or is that a different film?
No, that's a different one.
Oh, okay.
This is Harry Dean Stanton's in this one.
Harry Dean Stanton, that's right.
Wow.
He recently departed.
Yes, he did.
That's too bad.
It's classic. It involves science fiction, repossessing cars, the
aliens. Yep.
Alien. What's in the back of the trunk? I can't even remember.
I can't quite remember. Some glowing.
Wow, guys.
It glowed a lot.
Yeah, I never had any of that happen when I was repoing cars. Thank God. No glowing things.
So, have we learned anything more about the general sort of, attitude, way of life of Mike in particular since then? I mean, that is 27 years ago. How did he live after that? I noticed he didn't get divorced for another 10 years. I mean, I'm sorry, she did. She didn't get divorced.
She didn't, but if we remember, she was already separated in January of 1990. So that might have just been one of those relationships where they're separated, but they just never get around to the divorce. That's my first thought. I don't know.
I've heard of that several times. Yeah, I've heard of that several times. Where people,
me too. And maybe that's the case. Maybe it wasn't until she was closer. Maybe it was when Michael was close to getting out of prison, and I don't know if she visited him in prison, or if they wrote letters to each other, or if they continued an affair, so to speak, while he was in prison, or did they get in touch again after he got out? I mean, that's all interesting stuff. People would love to know.
Yeah, they would. And Tonya, I don't want to age you here, so I'm going to step very lightly. Do you remember the crime when it happened?
I did not live in Florida, so I do not. This was the first I'd heard of it. I was delighted, though, to see that our newspaper had covered it extensively, so I had a rich set of archives to go through with a lot of articles, and it gave me a lot of material and a lot of background and a sense of the story. And I felt like when I started writing the article yesterday that I had kind of been there, because I'd read so much about it in the a couple hours before I started writing. But a lot of people here do remember it. Our photographer who recently retired, he was the photographer that went to the scene of the crime. So people do remember it.
Well, we're going to, for argument's sake, for a minute here, and again, I stress she has not been she's not been convicted. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, she is the shooter, okay? And let's just say she's living in wedded bliss with the victim's husband, okay? They're married. How do you live with that kind of baggage in the back of your head for that many years and not once come forward just out of pure guilt to say, I did this? How does somebody not do that?
That's the $1 million question. I mean, it happens all the time. People carry some really deep, scary, sad, troublesome secrets deep inside. So, who knows how you do that? Do you just bury it? Do you push it away? Do you ever think about it? Do you do you kind of convince yourself it didn't happen? I don't know.
I suppose there's some part of that, but it's not like you stole a Snickers bar when you're 12 here. I mean, we're talking about murder.
Yeah. I think of both of them. I think like let's just say Michael had no part in it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's just say he was a not willing participant, but just as shocked as everybody else.
Yeah, and he never believed she could have done it. Think. When police come to arrest her, and he finds out there's new evidence, there's DNA evidence. How shocking that would be.
Sure.
But, I mean, perhaps it was their shared secret. We don't know.
Well, I suppose it's easier to carry the burden when there's two of you. Yeah, I mean...
Maybe a little.
It's not so hard to carry that burden when you have your...
Yeah.
Alleged cohort living with you. So, I
think it would be this huge, unspoken monster.
I would think so. I mean, it's not like you'd sit back and reminisce, hey, remember that time we did that? It's not something you'd sit back over a beer over and go, yep.
Hey, remember when I killed your wife?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm sure they didn't talk about it a whole lot.
Yeah, who knows? And just, I don't know how you live with something like that, or, how you even plan something like that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm not going to go with the obvious 12-year-old joke, but she definitely was not clowning around. I'm just saying right now. Sorry, I had to do it at least one time. We have to run a break. We come back. We're going to talk a little bit more about true crime. In this case, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back right after this. After Hours AM, the Criminal Code. We'll be right back after a word from these sponsors.
Northern Tool and Equipment.
I got a rather serious problem over here.
All right, what are we looking at?
Cranky mother-in-law asleep on the couch in the man cave.
Dear God.
It gets worse.
That's impossible.
She's passed out on the remote.
I stand corrected.
What do I do?
Okay, I want you to grab a Torin Big Red hydraulic bottle jack.
Okay.
Now you wedge that bad boy in under your mother-in-law and crank her up skyward.
It's working. And got the remote.
Great. Now grab that Torin Big Red 2-ton folding shop crane and put that woman on wheels.
And away we go.
There's no problem a little horsepower can't solve. Northern Tool and Equipment.
This is Jen McGowan, founder of Wayward Souls Promotions, a company dedicated to helping individuals, teams, radio shows, and others that are seeking exposure for their individual events, conventions, and shows. We offer a wide variety of advertising, such as web-based article, social media posts, podcast advertisement, and so on. Contact us at paranormalpromotion@gmail.com, visit us on Facebook at Wayward Souls Promotions, and visit our website at www.waywardsoulspromotions.com.
Welcome back to After Hours AM, the Criminal Code. And welcome back to After Hours AM. Everybody, I'm your host, Joel Sturgis, right along with me,
Eric Olsen.
And we are talking all about, of course, the new breaking story that's on everyone's minds right now. And, of course, that's the clown murder. Binghamton woman arrested in 27-year-old clown cold case murder. And, of course, we are talking to one of the ACE reporters tonight. And that would be, of course, Miss Tonya, that has been so nice. Now, I'm going to do this now, Tonya. Don't yell at me if I don't get it right away. Tonya Alanez. Is that good?
Pretty
you left
good.
out a syllable.
Oh,
you did leave out a syllable.
See, my northern tongue. Damn that thing, all the hell. No, but again, we are so... Go ahead,
Well done.
Alanez.
There it is, perfectly
Perfect.
said. And we are really blessed to have you on. You're right there as it's unfolding. And again, we can't thank you enough for coming on, but you're more than just this story. You have quite a career that you have covered. Stories, including true crime stories, and we touched on a little bit. You covered 2 executions, and what was that like as a reporter to have to cover such a tense situation?
Well, it's surreal, and I think you kind of you have to detach from the reality of what's happening and just go into reporter mode.
Mm-hmm.
And observe, watch, listen, look, just take it all in, absorb it, get down as many of the details as you can, the telling details, the ones who will bring readers into the execution chamber with you. And then later, after your story's filed, after it's edited, then you reflect on all that you just went through and what you just saw and what that means and that whole thing. But really you just go into reporter mode. But it is tense. Mm-hmm. And it's a little bit like surreal kind of theater, it felt like.
Can you give us the circumstances of each of the cases, or just pick one of them? Okay.
Well, the first one really just sticks with me the most. John Richard Merrick, he had, there was a woman, 2 women who were driving along the Florida Turnpike late at night, and they had car trouble. They broke down, and 2 men came along, and they offered to help, and they offered to take one of the women to go get help and make a call. And she was never seen again until her body turned up in a lifeguard shack down here and had been raped and mutilated and, burned and bound and just the whole 9 yards.
What a horrific crime. Oh.
It really, really was really sad. She's a single mom, had 2 daughters. And so he spent 25 years on death row fighting the case. That's just, one example of how very long it takes to actually, bring a death penalty case all the way, through all the stages up to that final act.
Did he claim to be innocent?
He didn't say either way, but he did murmur the Lord's Prayer.
Wow. Man.
As part of his final moments.
Yeah.
And it's just, you're in this little room sitting shoulder to shoulder with, other reporters, prosecutors, law enforcement, and family members. And it's really like a small, cramped space. And when you come in there and sit down, there's this big plate glass window that you're facing, and it has a shade down. And eventually it automatically rises up. And there's the convict is already laying there on a gurney with a sheet up over his chest and arms out, and already kind of they wrap his hands in gauze. And so he's already, it's lethal injection, what we do here in Florida. So he's already kind of hooked up to all the, the IVs and so forth. And the executioner you never see. He or she is behind a wall or, in a different room. And you kind of wait there. The warden takes a call from the governor's office, gets the final okay, and then the process begins. And it's actually a 3-step process. The first one, kind of paralyzes, and the second one puts you into cardiac arrest, and then the third stage you pass on. And it's interesting to watch a person go through those stages. They it's not, the movement or reactions aren't huge or real exaggerated, but you see small little twitching, fluttering eyes, tensing up of the body. And then, once the, certain amount of time has passed, they pass a hand over the eyelashes to see if they flutter or anything. And when they don't, he's pronounced dead.
So, Tonya, I have to ask, after you witness something like that in your reporter mode, but then you take that break and your humanity comes back. When you're out of reporter mode and being a radio host, we both kind of understand that, because there have been a lot of shows that we've talked about where we've had to separate ourselves from our own morals and what we thought to give an accurate representation of the facts. When that humanity, I call it the humanity, came back to you, was it almost, that's when you reacted? That's when maybe you were like, holy crap, what did I just witness? I mean, how did that make you feel?
Absolutely. Well, actually, the first little tinge of that was when I drove back from the state prison to my hotel room. And, I'm on deadline at that point, but I'm driving and I'm just kind of processing what I saw and getting ready to file a story on a tight deadline. But it kind of hit me then, like, whoa, what was this? What is this that I just witnessed, and what is this that we do? And is this how is this, it's state sanctioned putting a person down with witnesses. So it did kind of touch me and just had my mind swimming. But, once I got back to the room, it's back into reporter mode, got to file, got to get through the editing process. And then it was the drive home the next day, which was a, several hour drive that I had a lot of time to just reflect and think about it. And just, I didn't come up with any conclusions, but it's just, you just wonder.
No,
Well, what are your thoughts? I'm sorry, Joel. I was just going to say, what since we have pushed and prodded you and had you speculate, what are your thoughts now on capital punishment, having witnessed it twice?
That's it. My thoughts on it are irrelevant, really. It's legal. It's how we punish first-degree murderers in Florida. That it's the law, and I cover crime, and it's part of what I cover.
Yeah. I hear you. I know exactly what you mean. It is what it is.
Yeah, it's different. It's different for every state, but in Florida, we're still busy with executions. So we're up there. I think one of the top 3 states with.
When I lived in Texas, man, it was a express line to the execution chamber.
Mm-hmm. Texas
it was
is
pretty fast. It was pretty fast, and you said it was almost like a morbid theater. After he was pronounced dead, what was the feeling in the room? What was the reaction of the family? Did they look satisfied, or did they kind of look like a little let down that there wasn't more? What was the real mood afterwards?
I think there was the tension broke a bit. There was a bit of a relief, but I don't think anyone really felt satisfied. I think, they always say it's cliche, but, at least, the family's thankful to get a bit of closure.
Yeah.
And finally put it all behind them. And for this poor family, it had been 25 years, even more. It was 25 years he was on death row, much less the, probably a few years until he was arrested and tried and,
In that
went
time,
through different appeals and so forth.
In that time, our children would have been middle-aged by the time he was actually brought to full justice.
Yeah, they were middle-aged women when I spoke with them at the time of the, when we were gearing up for the actual execution.
I know where I live in Minnesota.
It's heavy.
We don't have that, of course. We don't have, and that's neither here nor there. I'm just saying I've never witnessed one because, of course, I haven't had. I don't want to make this sound horrible, but I haven't had the opportunity to. Would I want to? I don't know. I just don't know. And I applaud your bravery because not everybody could sit through that and be all about the facts and be all business. And so that takes a special individual that can do that. Now, that's not for everybody.
Yeah, it felt kind of like I had to do it. And it was an opportunity to be a witness for the public.
Yeah, history's sake. Be that recorder for history. That this indeed did happen. That does not get forgotten.
Yeah, it lasts. It sticks with you.
What drew you to crime reporting in the first place?
Oh, it's you get all the perfect elements for a good story. I mean, I like to tell stories, and what's better than a true story? And South Florida, like we were saying earlier, is such a bizarre news state, and you get everything. You get and also it's all these universal themes that crime stories revolve around. It's vindictiveness, it's jealousy, it's rage, it's passion, it's there's forgiveness along the way, there's compassion along the way. I mean, you just see all the different things play out, between the families of victims and suspects, and you also tend to have all the players just kind of lined up right there for you. Your characters in your story. You've got, and then some crime usually that you just couldn't make up, and if you did, people would think it was silly or something. I mean, think if I made up a clown murderer story.
Sure. I mean, seriously,
they're made up all the time. There's a movie out right now.
I was
going
to say it's kind of apropos that it's out right now that the case is being solved with it
Isn't
being
that
all
weird?
our age.
Well, you know what's even weirder? It's exactly 27 years ago that the It miniseries aired. And it's 27 years between Pennywise attacks in the story.
Well, that is weird.
27.
How meta is that?
That is strange. That is
getting strange.
That is weird, Tonya. Very, very strange. And really quick, I interviewed somebody that it was a very famous case, and the perpetrator was put to death, and I asked the victim. I was like, we were on air, and he was talking about the case, and I said, well, what did you think? He said, it didn't matter what I thought. I had already forgiven this person, because in order for me to be at peace, I had to give some semblance of forgiveness and humanity, but at the same time, I'm glad he, in his words, fried, because he was, he needed to feel justice. And so he said, it was not about me anymore. I was behind me. I had already forgiven, done all my forgiving and all my grieving, but it was time for justice to take over. And I thought that was about the best answer I've ever heard anyone give for that situation.
Yeah, and it's hard to know, how I would feel, if it were my family member who, had been murdered, in some heinous way.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. And then to witness it for the people, you were actually witnessing it for all of us, for the people, and then to record this and then live through it, and then probably have what a lot of reporters call that post-trauma rush, where you're finally able to come back down and you're like, again, like when you're driving home, that, oh my God, what did I just witness? And what are the ramifications? And how am I going to handle this now? After seeing something like that. Do you ever find yourself, some reporters, especially ones that I've talked with that have been in combat zones, talk about almost like a PTSD, but then ones that have witnessed a lot of executions, they say the same thing. It's such a traumatic event. Do you ever find yourself looking back at that, kind of daydreaming about going back to that moment?
I reflect. I don't find myself daydreaming about it, but I do find myself reflecting on it sometimes, or just, when I hear about death penalty cases, or I know, like, for instance, we have another man right now who's getting, he's next up, and they're going through all the final motions right now, and his time's coming up very soon. So I find that things like that kind of trigger the thoughts and memories for me, but it's not something that I think about a whole lot, or try not to.
Yeah, it makes complete sense. I mean, on one hand, it's justice in all its fury, and on the other hand, it is doing your job. You know what I mean? So it's. I think the best way to put it, hey, this is the law of the land. It is what it is. This is happening, and this is justice. And every state has their ability to either choose that kind of justice or not choose that kind of justice.
And going back to the clown killer case, one of my colleagues was asking me today, did I think that perhaps Sheila Keen Warren would face the death penalty?
I would hope so.
It's a first-degree murder case, and that's that's definitely an option. But it'll be up to prosecutors to decide that. I tend to find with crimes of passion, death penalty usually gets waived for some reason. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure why, but when it's close relations or familial or something, death penalty seems to get taken off the table.
Really? Oh, see, I was going to ask you, Beans has been so long, she's evidently lived a clean life since. Does it make it harder to do the death penalty because it was so long ago? She was so young. They may, like you said, have a hard time getting the capital punishment. She may end up getting life in prison over that.
Yeah, it would be, and it'd be up to the jury to, first they would, convict or acquit, and then there'd be a second phase of the trial where they would decide whether to impose life or death. And in Florida, we have life without the possibility of parole. So life is life here.
Yeah, there's no good time going on there.
No. When you go death row, you go there till the end.
Man, that's pretty hardcore. Well, you know what? The moral of the story is don't go to jail.
That's a good moral.
I might question a little bit, though, simply the characterization of this as purely a crime of passion, because, my God, you don't get much more premeditated than buying a freaking clown outfit.
That is true.
Right?
That is true.
And stealing a car.
There's definitely a lot of planning and thought
seems
to have gone into it.
Yeah. No, definitely. Yeah.
I mean, this wasn't a cat fight that went bad. Is what I'm saying.
Right.
Yeah,
it wasn't a momentary, lapse of judgment or, a passionate flicker in time. It was something that, definitely, took some thought, took some planning.
She was young, but not
took
that.
some creativity.
Yeah. I was gonna say what will be interesting as it plays out, and let's just say, for argument's sake, she's convicted, and of course they talk with her. Why would you choose a clown suit of all things that sticks out so horribly bad in any neighborhood? Why would you choose a clown suit? Hey, we saw a clown running away. Really?
I know, but look, the clown got away.
It did for 27 years. It got away, but you cannot escape the long arm of the law.
Most of the time, you can't.
Often, anyway. Yeah, I was just going to say, I'm glad you brought that up. It seems, just from what I've read, it was even kind of a little bit more from the Bristol media side of things, where she lives now, that it said she had gone peacefully and without incident. And when you add that to the length of time, to the fact that she was clearly considered a suspect, if not the leading suspect, all that time ago, she had to have this hanging over her head.
Yeah.
Oh,
all
absolutely.
that time. And I mean, not just the guilt part, but
she was actually picked up as she and her husband were returning home from a road trip. So they were just like minutes from their house. They were actually pulled over. And, part of me wonders, like, did they just think, it's some traffic violation? What did we do?
Yeah.
Did we, not signal? Did we not come to a full stop or what? Or, I wonder if any time the police were in view or pulled them over, if there was a panic, a scared, panicky moment of like, this is it, this is when the shoe drops.
I wonder if the police officer said, no funny business.
I mean, in a way, it could have almost felt like a relief, right? Well, they finally got me,
Yeah, I could see that.
Well,
at least I don't have that hanging over my head.
I was going to say,
a burden lifted.
Yeah, well, our resident forensic psychologist so often says that it's not uncommon for the perpetrators to fall asleep in the back of the cop car, mainly because all that's lifted now. They're done. They're caught. They don't have to carry that anymore. It's almost like
I've never heard that before.
Yeah,
that's
it's like
bizarre.
A huge relaxation comes over them, like, I'm no longer in fear anymore. I don't have to carry this guilt anymore. I can actually face justice and get it done with. So, that's something that she's said. And this case, though, when it broke, you had to have been shaking your head, Tonya. You had to have been like, what the hell? Come on.
Oh, yeah, where the whole newsroom was. We're like, oh, my God, what kind of story is this? And I didn't even know, all that background stuff about, she worked for the, repossessing cars and that there was an alleged affair and that, he was paying her rent and that she, there were clerks who picked her out of a photo lineup saying she bought the clown costume and, the flower arrangement and the clerks at the grocery store also recognizing her. I mean, that all just really, really adds up. And it actually makes me wonder if 3 decades later, if this will actually go to trial, if she will want to fight it and take it all the way through trial, or, will she just take a plea deal? She might just take a plea deal. They could, one thing they might do is they could take death off the table and say, hey, plead guilty and go to prison for life. I've seen that happen.
Yeah, another thing that might happen, we just had an attorney pop in that's listening, and he sent us via Facebook saying, they might start a murder one. That way they can plea bargain her down to murder 2 without a trial. That's a lot of times why they'll start with murder 1, and then eventually they'll settle with a murder 2 conviction.
And you don't know. Maybe there's, maybe they've got their eye on someone else too.
I think conspiracies
who may have the same last name.
I think conspiracy's coming down the pipe here. I smell conspiracy. I don't think we're done by a long shot. I think the Lifetime movie is just going to keep getting better and better here. You know, I mean,
I bet she's going to roll. I love that. I love to use cop talk. She's going to roll over on him. Yeah. I bet he had everything to do with it. He knew all about it. I mean, he sounds like a really shady guy. He may have been the instigator.
Well, we just don't know.
know.
Yeah, we can only speculate at this point, but until, of course, the trial comes about, if there is one, or, you know, the day in court, and then maybe that's why they're keeping the case so wide open yet, is because they're hoping that wide net will make her want to talk. Maybe they'll use the plea agreement to get her to roll. You know, like, well, you know, if you just give up, you know, we kind of know that you weren't alone, and we don't want to give you a murder one, because we all know what that means. But if you work with us, and you give us your accomplice, we're willing, and it does hold water, and it is all the truth, we're willing to knock that down to murder 2 for you. Yeah. And, you know...
And they could leverage all that, too, with, you know, scaring her with the possibility of the death penalty, too. You know, they don't have to decide early on that that's not, you know, that they're going to take that off the table. That can, you know...
Yeah.
That can stay there for a while, the possibility for that.
Well, sure. And then, of course, you know, all the anxiety for her that goes with that, the thought of the death penalty, and all that stuff will play into that. And really, the police are the pros. I mean, this is what they do. And the cold case team that broke this, kudos to them. Really, kudos to them. I mean, that's really another big story here, is how they were able to track the suspect down. I mean, that right there is a whole show on its own, just the forensics behind it.
Yeah, no, those are always interesting, kind of seeing how the dots get connected, and it's always interesting to see what revives a cold case, what brings it back to life.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, which ones get picked and chosen? I mean, how did this one get, you know, dragged up from the mothballs, and let's go through it again? You know, things like that. I'd love to get one of the investigators, and this is all settled, to come on and tell us about the nuts and bolts of how that all went down behind the scenes.
Yeah, speaking of, good and interesting to hear.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, Joel, since we're so near the end of the show, man, given the South Florida, not just Florida, but Tonya's in South Florida, the epicenter of weird true crime. We would love to have her back on the show, not only to talk about how this one comes out, but some of these other cases. And it sounds like maybe some of these cold cases, they're going to keep rolling through these. I think I recall maybe Clarissa saying at some point that once a department cracks a cold case, it really gives incentive to dig into the other ones that much harder.
I could see that. Yeah,
sure.
Kind of get a little shot in the arm.
Yeah, that makes sense. Hey, let's go take a look at these old cases. Let's see what's happening with this. Maybe we can get this solved. Maybe this old rape can get solved, or this murder can get solved. And because really, quite honestly, the families are still waiting for justice, is what they're doing. And of course, the victims. So, I mean, the closure that is brought by these really, really skilled men and women to bring these cold cases back to life, so to speak, of course, and get a conviction is nothing short of miraculous. I'd like to thank you so much, Tonya, for coming on the show. I know we kept you way too long because you are a working reporter and you're working tonight, in fact, in the newsroom, but we'd like to thank you so much for coming on the show.
You bet. I'm happy to share the hour with you.
Well, thank you.
So thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Until next
Thanks
time,
so
everybody.
Much, Tonya.
Take care of each other, love each other. Tune in tomorrow night, man. You're going to love what we got on tap tomorrow night. Don't go anywhere. Same channel, same time. See you guys later.